Welcome, everybody, to the second segment of my Real Still Sports broadcast tonight with your host, the one and only Mr. James Evan Krasneric here, broadcasting live from Elizabeth, Pennsylvania. A little chilly night outside, a little bit of snow still left on the ground, but other than that, not too bad. Weather's not too bad this time of year around here. Oh, who am I kidding? People hate this weather. I don't mind it, though. I kind of like the cooler weather. It's nice. Anyways, I broke down in my previous segment the American Football Conference, and this segment I should say right here, it's time to break down the NFC and talk about what to expect out of that conference for the rest of the season. First off, I'd like to congratulate Seattle on a job very well done tonight against the New Orleans Saints. I mean, they took the Saints to the woodshed pretty much. I don't think I expected the Saints to be as dominated as they got in that football game. I thought that, I thought Seattle would play well. I thought New Orleans would win. I thought New Orleans would at least score 20 points on them. But they held, in my opinion, one of the best offenses in the NFL, one of the most, in my opinion, versatile offenses in the NFL to a measly touchdown. Insane. But anyway, let's go through the NFC teams. So right now, the way things stand, the wild card round would go as followed. The 6th-seeded 8-4 Niners would play the 3rd-seeded 7-5 Lions. The 5th-seeded 9-3 Panthers would play the 4th-seeded 7-5 Cowboys. The Saints at 9-3 and the Seahawks at 11-1 would be the top seeds in the playoffs. And the Seattle Seahawks, by virtue of their win over the Saints, has clinched a playoff berth. The Eagles and Cardinals are 7-5, but due to a tiebreaker and head-to-head record, the Eagles are one spot ahead of the Cardinals in the playoff race. The Bears are 6-6 in the 9th seed, and the Packers are 5-6-1 the 10th seed. Now, in my opinion, this is the way that it's going to end up. It's either going to be, the only thing that I see remotely interchangeable is Dallas and Philadelphia. The winner of pretty much these 5 teams, Seattle, New Orleans, San Francisco, Carolina, Detroit, those are the teams that will be in the NFC playoffs. I don't see that really changing. I personally find it hard to believe that any of the other teams are going to make that big a play. I mean, if you look at the other teams, though, the rest of the schedule, I mean, Bears might not get Cutler back yet for a little bit. You look at the Cardinals' schedule the rest of the way, they host the Rams, they go to Tennessee, they go to Seattle, and then they host the Niners. That's 2 losses right there, Seattle and San Francisco. The Bears, say they don't have Cutler the rest of the way. They host Dallas, go to Cleveland, go to Philly, host Green Bay. Maybe 3-1 right there. Green Bay's out of it. They would have to win out and get help, and they can't win out against the schedule. Versus Atlanta, at Dallas, versus Pittsburgh, at Bears. They ain't going to do that. Besides, Rodgers ain't coming back for a while, as far as from what I can hear. So pretty much it's going to be these 5 teams and either Dallas or Philly. I mean, Philly's schedule is versus Detroit, at Minnesota, versus Chicago, at Dallas. Potentially, I see 2-2 or 3-1 there. Dallas, I see something similar. They go to Chicago, host Green Bay, go to Washington, host Philly. That game against Philly at the end of the year, I think is going to be the game that decides the division. Because if you look at the playoff picture in the NFC, you got Seattle, New Orleans, San Fran, Carolina, Detroit. Those 5 teams are going to make it. I don't see any way Detroit blows this or Chicago magically just rises from the ashes, or Green Bay does it, to win the division. But I digress. Let's start at the bottom and work our way to the top. The San Francisco 49ers is 6th seed in the playoffs. The pro for that, the biggest upside for that team is their defense. And the fact that even though they've had some issues on that side of football this year, some turmoil, they've lost a couple players. They're 8-4 right now, and they got the 3rd best defense in the league at 16.4 points per game. 4th against the pass, 11th against the run, 6th against in yards, and 3rd in points allowed. Not bad at all. The biggest con for that team is themselves. I'm serious, because they've played well the last few weeks. I mean, they blew out Washington in Washington. They went and they hosted St. Louis and beat them. Michael Crabtree coming back to this team after him being, gone with the Achilles injury has opened the door for Anquan Bolden to have so much success. And Mario Manningham potentially, coming back. Actually, he's back, I should say, but Mario Manningham being there too, a weapon they didn't have last year in the playoffs, that could be a big plus for them too. And they got Frank Gore running hard as ever, Vernon Davis, and Colin Kaepernick starting to catch on a little bit better and play a little bit better lately. That's a big plus. The biggest con for this team is, in my opinion, is the secondary. I know they're very high ranked in terms of passing yards, but let's put it this way. If the pass rush doesn't work, if they're not getting steady pressure on the quarterback, which they've had a couple issues with this year, what's going to happen when they play teams like the Saints or even the Seahawks or even the Panthers? You know, in my opinion, I'm actually going to digress the secondary because they can make plays, the offensive line and pass protection. I've said it for a long time now. San Francisco's got the best run-blocking offensive line in the league. They have the worst pass-protect offensive line in the league. I would take the Steelers' offensive line without Fernando Velasco or Marquise Pouncey, and I'd rather have them pass-protect my quarterback than the 49ers. Absolutely. Joe Staley is a one-trick pony. He can run block. He can't pass. He can't stop an outside linebacker or defensive end for anything. That's their biggest con right now. The 5th-seeded Panthers, what's not to like about them? 8 straight wins. Statistically right now, arguably the best defense in the league if you look at what statistically they've done this year. They're allowing 13.1 points per game. They're 6th against the pass, 2nd against the run, 1st in points and yards allowed, and the pass rush they're generating, 38 sacks in 12 games, is just staggering. If you average that out over a season, that's 51 sacks on the year. That's an incredibly, egregiously high total. And they're getting constant pressure on every quarterback they've played. Every quarterback has felt the rest due to this football team. I mean, you look at week 1, they played Seattle, and they played Seattle very tough. 12-7, Seattle won that game. It was in Carolina, but they played them tough. The biggest con for this team is inexperience. The fact that they've never been in the playoffs, the fact that most of the players in that team have never seen a playoff game. Steve Smith's been in a Super Bowl, but that's about it. The rest of that team is so inexperienced in playoffs that it's really begs the question how they would do once they got into the playoffs. I think Cam Newton would excel based on his personality. That's just me. I can't make that call, but I think the only thing holding them back is experience because they've got all the tools. Maybe another receiver next year in the draft they can maybe trade up and get, but that'd be just about it. This football team is very complete. And the team that they're projected to face, the 4th-seeded Cowboys, we're almost having one of his best years ever. Just look at the year he's been having this year. In my opinion, other than Drew Brees, he's having the best year any quarterback in the NFC has been having. Maybe with the exception Nick Foles. But he's completing 64.8% of his passes. That's only his 5th best season. That doesn't sound very impressive. But he's thrown 24 touchdown passes. He's on pace to throw his 2nd highest total of his career, next to his 2007 season, which was his best with 36 touchdowns. His QBR is 59, which isn't very impressive, but his passer rating is 97. He's had a very good year, but the biggest statistical win for me, in my opinion, is the fact that he's had only 7 interceptions. His interception total is 1.6%. That's his interception percentage, 1.6%. He keeps the interception totals down. The fact that he's been clutch in the 4th quarter this year, yes, I use Tony Romo and clutch in the same sense, be a win for that team. And they're not short of weapons. DeMarco Murray, running back. They got a decent offensive line now with Doug Free and Travis Frederick coming together. And they got weapons. Miles Austin, Terrence Williams, Jason Witten, and the beast, Des Bryant. The defense, they're okay, but I think they can have room for improvement. Consistency. They're still not a very consistent football team, but the biggest flaw that I see in this football team is just that they're inconsistent, and that a lot of times they waver, in my opinion. They play well for a while, and then they just go and they just kind of, they'll play good for a while, and then they'll be average for a little bit. I think it's more or less a mindset thing. I think it has to do with Jerry Jones personally. That's just me. But I think that just the only thing that holds them back is their inconsistency. And now for the third team in the NFC, the Detroit Lions. Megatron, that's the biggest positive they got. Get him the football. Let him run. You throw the guy the football and just let that puppy run. He can flat out fly. He's faster than most guys that are 5'8", 5'9", and he can jump higher than most guys twice his size. He's a beast. In my opinion, when he is retired, he will be the greatest wide receiver of all time. Greater than Jerry Rice. And I'll tell you that because of this. He's got that hunger to be the best like Jerry Rice. He's got that desire and that work ethic to be the best. He's not a diva like these other wannabes that thought they were going to be slam dunk Hall of Famers like T.O. and Moss and Chad Ochocinco or whatever the hell you want to call him. Think about it. Just think about it. He doesn't say anything. He's quiet. He goes out there and he just plays. He's had some beastly years. He'll be the best receiver when he's all said and done. Mark my words. The biggest problem for this team, though, is turnovers. And I think I could best sum it up like this. In the game with the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving, a game that Detroit won 40-10 and actually scored, I believe, 37 unanswered points in that game? What was it? How many turnovers they have?
Let's go to Detroit's game 1 today on
I'm on the NFL.com page, everybody, so sorry for the noise. They had Stafford threw two picks, and they lost 2 fumbles. That's 4 turnovers. You can't go out there and turn the ball over 4 times a game in the playoffs. You can't do it. You'll lose. So, yeah, they got Megatron, but they got turnovers. That's a big problem. The Saints at 9-3, in my opinion, the biggest strength is Drew Brees. Super Bowl MVP, in my opinion, he's a multi-year offensive player of the year. Multi-year winner of offensive player of the year. In my opinion, next to Peyton Manning right now, the best quarterback in the NFL. And damn, that weapons in that Sean Payton calling the plays is incredible. The biggest problem for this team, though, going on the road. If they have to go on the road 2 times this postseason, they're done. They might win 1 playoff game on the road. They ain't winning 2. They went to New England this year and played a pretty bad game. New England, the fact that Brady didn't play well at all until the final drive shows how close that game was and how bad this team has played on the road. Then they went to New York and got beat by a Jets team with Geno Smith, which was disgusting. I watched that game. We're kind of grossed out. And then just go up to Seattle on Monday night and lay an egg up there. But I got to give Seattle credit, and I'll talk about that later. Biggest problem with the Saints team, though, is just going on the road. If they could have beaten Seattle tonight and gotten home field, then I would be more than willing to put them as the NFC champion. But my NFC championship pick is the Seattle Seahawks for one reason and one reason only, that home field. They broke the NFL record for decibels tonight. .137.6 decibels. Let's put it this way. Audible pain in your ears is 125 decibels. So pretty much 12.6 decibels added on, you're in pain, incredible pain. I don't think Seattle's going to lose the rest of the season. I don't. They go to San Francisco. I don't think they'll lose to San Francisco. They host the Giants. They go to New York and play against the Giants. That's a win right there. They host Arizona and St. Louis. They're going to be one of the 4 or 5 I think will be one of 5 or 6 teams in NFL history to finish 15-1. And I'll tell you what makes Seattle the best team in the league right now. And it has nothing to do with what they do with any individual players. It has to do with that offensive line. And the fact that in the trenches they just maul you. Getting Russell Okung, Max Unger back from injuries. I mean, Bruno Guimaraes. What's his name? Sorry, I'm trying to pronounce it. Bruno Giacomini. They got him back now. They got all those guys back. Max Unger, that offensive line. Wilson had all the time in the world to throw tonight. And if he can hold off a Saints pass rush, which sacks quarterbacks more often than any team in the league in terms of sack percentage, he's going to be fine. But I believe right now the Seattle Seahawks will win the NFC. Because think about it. You look at their schedule the rest of the way. They would pretty much have to lose 3 of their 4 games, and New Orleans or Carolina has to win out. That's the only way that Seattle doesn't get home field. Seattle's going to get home field. They're going to roll into the Super Bowl. They're going to roll right in. The fact that it's played outdoors, big advantage for them. Doesn't matter if it's on the road. They'll still play well. This team has figured out how to play on the road as well, which is scary. I put Seattle right now as the favorite with 4 weeks remaining to win the whole shebang, win the Super Bowl. All right, I hope everybody enjoyed my 2 segments for tonight. I will hopefully be back soon, and I will see you guys later. Take care.